Okay, is it working? I think so. Jeez, why is everything so bright? So I'll wait a few minutes. I'm gonna go live for about 30. And Octavia here has grown a lot. She has become a mega hamster. And it's quite interesting. So you wanna know something? So my stepdad recently got my son and my myself bikes as presents. Bicycles with these fat tires. They're a lot of fun to ride. I've never ridden those kind. And all is well, rode them for a while. And then like a piece of it just like flies off of mine when we're in the park with my son. And like I can't find it. So we had to go to a shop and keep in mind, like we put this bike together ourselves, and it was a really nice bike, and it was time consuming. So it was a bit annoying that it broke almost right away. Hey, Infinite Corridors, and the part that broke was already in place. It wasn't the part that we put in, and so the moment we get it out of the or my mom and stepdad do rather, the moment they get it out of the shop, they stop by the store and the bike is stolen. It's like no luck with this bike. It's it breaks, fix it, and then it immediately gets stolen. So I'm like, what the hell? Anyway, it's not a big deal. I just thought it was kind of a funny story more than anything else. Oh dang, there's already 5 people here. Yeah, so now that I finished that show, the 100, uh, then leave the show alone forever because I already finished it over a week ago. Just got off a 6+ year kratom addiction last week, and I literally feel like I woke up from a long dream. Whoa, really? Addiction, as in like, yeah, I'm familiar with it myself. I know people that love it. It's kind of a big thing in my area for sure. Um, I mean, I've done it. Would I say that I've got a date at any point? No, not at all. But I mean, it's like it's a weird thing. It's a weird plant. I don't know, like if it could really be considered. I guess if you get addicted to it, it can be considered a drug. Anything could be considered a drug, though. So what am I even talking about if you can get addicted? But that's great. Congratulations, though. You feel like you woke up from a long dream. Wow. So you feel like rejuvenated. You feel more lively, I assume. That's great. Um, but yeah, that stuff is everything. That stuff is huge around here. Well, you know how opiates are big in general everywhere, and fentanyl and all that stuff. And all the fentanyl and heroin addicts, they try to get off that stuff by using kratom and similar things. So that's why it's so popular. I guess it's gotten really popular. 40 grams a day. Wow. Yeah, that is quite a lot for some periods of time, and it helped me tremendously with my mental out of control fear of my own thoughts. Everything is literally vivid now, like a lucid dream. I've been in this dream-like state for so long now. It's getting more dreamy, and like outside is getting brighter and brighter, and I'm just like, either I'm going deeper into sleep or I'm waking up too. I can't even tell the difference anymore. Back in the day, my early 20s, I was completely in the 100. Again, I don't know. I don't really care if I'm spoiling it. I mean, if you really are going to watch it, then I guess you shouldn't listen to this. But even I'm going to explain like a small percentage of it. It's so over the top. Like even what that even the thing that I'm going to spoil isn't that big of a deal. It's basically the main concept. Saw the 100 show several years ago myself. It was interesting. The last season, especially, it got really deep into some philosophical concepts. And but here's the basic premise. Oh crap! I have a bad connection. You guys hear me? It says I have a connection here. Hold on. Ah, crap. Okay, I think it's a bit better. For some reason, I have better Wi-Fi like this. Okay. Okay. Sorry about that. So what happens, right? Just as a little bit of an overview, there was an AI system that was created that launched nukes and destroyed the world. And this AI was supposed to save the world. So, in order to reconcile like its sentient guilt that this AI developed and the creator of it both together, they wanted to create a painless, perfect utopian world where humans could live in peace and harmony, but you have to basically give up your soul to the AI, essentially, for lack of a better term. And long story short, it was trapping people in this city, this utopia, and it was eventually destroyed. However, there was other like factions of the human race that made it off planet other than the space station I discussed in previous live streams. So remember, there was a group of people that went to live in this orbiting space station after the nuclear war who survived it, and then they went back to earth. But there was two other factions, two other human groups that were on other ships that essentially seeded two other worlds. One of them was called Bardo, and the other one was called Sanctum. And that AI survived in those worlds, but it was used in a kind of a different way. So I discussed in one of the previous live streams that in Sanctum, they had this basically cult society, like a almost Scientology, like, I don't know, cult society that worshipped the king and queen and others that they called primes, who were like gods. But they weren't gods, they were frauds, of course, because what they would do is body snatch. And how they would body snatch was that when their body would get old or whatever, sick, that they would take a young, youthful volunteer. Like they would say that they're doing a great deed, that they're, you know, doing their duty and their service to their gods, or, you know, how religions are in general, by doing this, and that they would tell them that they would merge with their prime or whatever, their consciousness. But in actuality, they had the AI, they call it the mind drive, um, that they would put into, so they would basically download a person into this mind drive whose body is getting old, but their consciousness, they would transfer it from that avatar to another youthful, younger body. But that youthful person in that younger body is dead. They would kill them, soul gone, whatever, right? So they would repeat this cycle. So they had the infinite emblem as part of their religion. and they were worshipped as gods because they technically lived forever by body snatching and killing people. Sorry, let me just read the chat for a second. Exactly, the brightness to everything I see and now is so intense. I've never experienced this realm like this before. I kind of don't know what to do with myself. Me too. I feel really kind of what's that word? Not agitated, restless? Maybe restless. Yes, I feel restless. Is that what you were thinking of as well? Yeah, very interesting. Yeah, it is a very interesting show. Definitely one of my favorites I've watched over the years for sure. I've been thinking that humanity is going to achieve the singularity in the next few years. Is going to be type 1 civilization, full immersion, virtual reality available for everyone if they want. Yeah, possibly. Oh, hey, Nigel is here. We choose our reality. I choose my utopia as a child. Yes, humans always want to show what's next. They do. They do. We always need a follower to follow, don't we? Okay, let me get back to my point here. Okay, so that was Sanctum, right? One of the planets where a ship left and they discovered this world. Hey, Jordan. Oh, yeah, the turret trip. Yeah. Well, pretty much everyone here watches Quantum of Conscience, Jordan. Pretty much everyone, because this is like the ultimate weirdness right over here, where there's no limits to weirdness, Jordan. So we question it all, like Quantum of Conscience. But yeah, you're talking about Tales from the Trip. I follow that guy. He's really cool. His channel is great, and I've shared his channel before. And yeah, that was the Tura trip I had when I was like 17. I had a terrifying experience. I shared it on this channel here. So, sorry, I keep moving around here, but like I said, the Wi-Fi is better like this for some reason. Okay. Anyway, so yeah, that was the planet Sanctum, and basically their world was destroyed. Their gods were exposed by the original Earth people, and now the hamster. And, and oh my gosh. Okay, I gotta go somewhere else. This happened last time. Why don't I prepare for this? I'm sorry. Okay. Can you hear that? Is that really annoying? Anyway, Bardo. The other planet is Bardo. And they evolved very differently over the generations than Sanctum. Sanctum was, even though they were high tech in terms of worshiping these gods, it was a very like old style society, almost like medieval like and fairy tale like in nature. But Bardo, the other planet where the AI was saved, um, that was a super highly advanced technological society, but also a cult of its own. Now, what made them a cult was quite different. So they also had this sort of religion. So one of the original survivors on the Earth from the bunker, who kept the AI, he cryogenically saved himself on one of the ships that left Earth, and basically he started this religion on Bardo around the AI that he saved. One of the original survivors from the original nuclear war. I know this is confusing, trust me. Okay, so he is called the shepherd, and his followers are called the disciples. Go figure, right? So the shepherd and his disciples do not believe in emotions. They have let go of individuality entirely. So like China, right? Or Soviet Russia, where you don't have an individuality at all. You're completely in the hive mind. And that is what Bardo is like. Everyone does everything for each other. There's no sense of me doing my own thing. And they have really advanced technology that could read people's minds, that could just all this crazy stuff. They're really advanced and they're really high tech with weapons, and they have portals to travel the universe, and they're just advanced and crazy. The significance of the hamster in his wheel. Oh yes. Oh, I sat down because Octavia, she left for a moment, so she's quiet now. That's so untrue about China. Oh, it's untrue about China, the Chinese people. It's true about the Chinese government, though. Wouldn't you agree with that? That's what the Chinese government's ideals are, is to destroy reality. The Chinese people are probably some of the most amazing people on the planet. That's not what I meant. You know what I meant. Um, so anyway, so on Bardo, and they have this. So one of the things that enabled them to leave the planet was this ancient sort of stone with these ancient hieroglyphs on them, and they have the stone has specific codes that you put in, um, and the way you put in the codes, it opens up a wormhole to travel as part of the Bardo religion. And in the Bardo too, um, um, then it's true about all governments. Yeah, I mean that is the point of government. Yeah. Well, it's the same thing. That's I wasn't distinguishing China from Soviet Russia, because Soviet Russia was the same idea. It was the same idea where they were trying to extinguish individuality. Or North Korea. I was just using China as an example. That's not. It's not just China alone. Far from it. Um, the weird part is at the end of the weird part is at the end how they left the few survivors of the 100 castrated to live out their days while the others get uploaded with the aliens. What season was that? Uh, yeah, yeah. You gotta. Can you tell me more about that, Jordan? A little bit confused. Yeah, government means mind control. Exactly. Okay, so in these ancient texts that are related to this stone, they have this prophecy of a final war, and these disciples are preparing for this final war, and they're super highly trained soldiers, and they've been prepared since birth to fight in this final war, because once they transcend, they transcend apparently, and they become, or what they describe as, a sort of unity consciousness, where they're already sort of a high mind, but they become partial essentially. And however, when the original Earth people arrive, like they got stuck in a wormhole and they arrived on Bardo, there's a lot of stuff going on in between this, by the way. I'm not even close to most of the stuff that's going on. So one of the one of the people is like really good with languages, and he's saying that this prophecy is misinterpreted, and that it's not a final war, it's a final test. So they're misinterpreting the idea of war, but the real word is test before transcendence. So that's interesting. That's a really interesting idea, because I think there's a lot of parallels with our expectations here, especially if you look at Bible prophecy and things relating to the final war of Armageddon, for example. What if we're misinterpreting that, and it's not a final war, but it's a final test as well? So I thought about that, but that's where that's where it ends up in, though. So hold on. Okay, I have been to Russia a few times. I'm basing that. I was born in Russia, so what am I even talking about? I've been back there, is what I meant. That is the description of my dad. That's what he said Soviet Russia was like. He said that they tried to extinguish individuality. Have you finished it? Yeah, it's the last episode. Yeah, I finished it. Yeah, so they all turn into like these trees, right? Or is that what you meant by aliens? The light beings they turn into, right? So okay, so you're saying they got uploaded into that form, right? Where they turn into these light beings, right? Yeah, I saw the last episode and I was super confused, to be honest with you. I was a little bit disappointed in the last episode because I was kind of hoping they would give a bit of a better explanation as to what was going on. But the basic idea is still there. We fight amongst ourselves about what kind of war we are in. Think about that. Yeah. Well, we're always in some kind of war, whether it's spiritual or physical. We live our lives like interpreting things as being a war, and that's been like mentally ingrained into the entirety of our being, our entire lives. And I watched this documentary the other day about apes and monkeys and how they form clans and groups and they fight each other too. And I'm like, dude, I don't believe in the conventional explanation for evolution, but I look at that and I'm like, come on. Even the monkeys clan band together and fight wars, like that's pretty sad. But then again, they don't really have a choice. I mean, they live by instinct. I don't know. I don't know. Anyway, I'm getting off topic a little bit. Yeah, we choose not to fight. That's where I live. Yeah. Yeah, Jordan. So those aliens. Okay, now I get what you meant by that. Yeah. So okay, so they end up fighting the final war with the Bardoans and the Earthlings and the the aliens. So there's a super advanced alien race that comes down and basically initiates the final test. So it was basically confirmed that it was a final test, and they're questioning like the main characters, like questions on morality, questions on what they've done right, and it does ultimately turn out to be a test and not a war. So it wasn't misinterpreted. But the catch is that the test was not to fight the war, to be tempted to fight it, but not to fight it. But of course, we keep in mind this is the last humans in the universe, according to the show. Literally 2 or 3 thousand humans left in the entire universe fighting a final war, essentially annihilating each other. So the aliens come in the form of deceased loved ones. And they're like, hey, you failed. Look, this is who you are. This is what you're like. And you can't change. You're screwed. You, the final war, you're going to annihilate each other. There's no transcendence for you. There's no ascension for you. It's over. But then, of course, like, oh, the show always ends. You know how shows are, right? There's always got to be something happy somewhere. So, like at the last minute, they stop the battle. Octavia actually comes in. Octavia comes in, the hamster right here, which I named Octavia. But she comes in and she stops that final battle. And so that's when everyone, or not most of them, start like metamorphosizing into these weird trees, Jordan. I don't know what they were. The friends that came back to live with Clark were left sterile and unable to reproduce. Is that true? Because maybe I didn't catch that part. Strange that the aliens don't want humanity to repopulate after getting turned into those tree things. I didn't know that they were sterile. Thank you for pointing that out. That is super weird. Okay, because I thought like everything was hunky dory again. Basically, the character that was, what's her name? That was with Clark's girlfriend or whatever. She was one of these advanced aliens, but she's like, "Hey, metamorphosis is a choice. You can just go live your life again if you want to." And that's what I thought. I thought that Clark's friends chose not to transcend and they just decided to continue living as normal, but I was not aware that they were unable to reproduce. And then how do the tree things reproduce? But then again, the tree beings are a mystery because you don't know it never revealed what they truly are. Like all we know is that they live forever and there's no pain. That's what they describe transcendence as in the show. Also, and the aliens maybe didn't want to be challenged once humans got to a certain level of awareness or technology. Yes. No, man, they mentioned they sterilized them upon coming back. Wow, I guess I missed it. That's why I was so confused. Well, thank you for clarifying. Thank you for clarifying that. I was like at the last episode, I'm like, oh, there goes Octavia. All right. Right. Oh wait. Oh, anyway, I'm going to go over here for a minute. Okay. Okay. I can change. I actually should. My clothes are in need of wash. Nigel. Actually, I'm doing that right now, too. You read my mind. Good old laundry. All right. Therefore, the ultimatum of join us or die. Yeah. So that's the thing about the show is that even these advanced aliens, so everything is a cult, right? Or everyone is trying to save their people. And there's this cult like mentality. Um, Octavia is doing the wheel. I have to be here. So, and then like even these super advanced, highly evolved aliens at the end, even they are some kind of cult. And keep in mind the golden trees. So they metamorphosize from humans, just to clarify this part, like trees. I don't know what they are, but even they are like their own cult, right? So they have their own sort of belief system, is what it seems like. The belief system of no pain and eternal life is what I'm getting at. So that's like the whole premise of the show is like, no matter where you turn, people are killing each other. First of all, there's always war, and there's always a cult. There's always a belief system, even to the highest levels of being, which is a really interesting idea, if you ask me, and makes me wonder if there's some truth to that. Just because there may be evolved, much more advanced races out there, don't assume that they're not necessarily not cult like. Maybe they have, you just never know. You would assume that they're not because they're more evolved, but what does more evolved even mean? You know what I mean? It's you're so right, Jordan. The ultimatum is join us or die. Yeah, that's the thing, is that if they didn't stop the war, they would have been annihilated. And not only would their bodies be annihilated, but their entire being. Or like, remember how the original Bardoans, so I'm sure you know what I'm talking about. So the aliens that lived on the planet before the humans arrived, they ended up being annihilated too. So cease to exist, essentially. Need to oil the Mackenzie says I need to oil the wheel. Yeah. Octavia's wheel. Greed kills and wars. Yeah, speaking of greed, now that I'm a little bit off topic, I'm gonna go for 5 more minutes though. So I think I sort of made my main point, even though I constantly got distracted. I'm sorry. I'll put Octavia somewhere else next time. Um, so, one of the reasons why I think Russia wants Eastern Ukraine is because Eastern Ukraine has one of the largest coal deposits in the world. So they want that coal. And ultimately, what is the war? What are wars about? They are about resources. I've talked about this 500 million times. Ultimately, no matter what's said on the news, wars are about resources. They always are. Oil, coal, minerals, water, all this stuff. Organic oil. No, you didn't distract me. Yeah. And the bankers fund them. And the bankers fund them because they want all the resources to themselves and scraps for everyone else. Yeah. And that's the thing. So back to Jordan for a minute before I go. One of my favorite things about that show was how it constantly made you question morality because they're always doing something to survive, right? To save their own people. But to save their own people, they always have to do something wrong. And it's like, it makes you like scratch your head like, whoa, like they really are stuck in this situation. What else could they possibly do? I don't know how well you remember season 2, but how they had to annihilate everyone on Mount Weather to save the original space people. If you could, like, what choice did Clark have? Otherwise, they would have all died. So it's like, I don't know. I'm getting too deep into the show, and most of the people here haven't seen it. So it's going to just be super confusing to everyone. So, yeah, but I just wanted to specifically talk to you, Jordan. But it's like, but then again, hold on. Let me just say one more thing. The people on Mount Weather, they could have asked them to volunteer for the bone marrow, right? Because, okay, there's people in a mountain that couldn't handle the outside because of the radiation. So they developed some kind of bone marrow, like super blood pill thing that can render their blood impervious to radiation or some totally unscientific nonsense. But they never asked them to volunteer. They just like took them and took their bone marrow. So maybe they deserve that fate. Anyway, getting ahead of myself. Yeah, it makes it all seem like humanity is tribal, warlike, and evil by nature. Yeah, that is kind of what the show ultimately implied. Yeah, tribal world. I mean, is it really far off from the truth? I mean, I guess Nigel, you are right. We are manipulated by wars and bankers' wars, and we are manipulated to a large degree. But we still have a choice in many cases too. So it's like a double-edged sword of what's a choice and what isn't a choice. We're not all like that. No, we're not. No doubt. You're definitely not like that. Into some sort of, yeah, into some sort of group consciousness. Exactly. Group think. Um, you know, follow the leader. Nobody wants to be a leader. They all want to follow. Like in season 5, they followed Octavia. She was the blood queen or whatever. Everyone wants to follow, follow, follow. Nobody wants to lead. And there's a lot of truth in that in the real world too. No doubt. Yeah, Bill Cooper. I have many years ago. Many years ago, I was really into Bill Cooper's stuff, like 2008, 2009. When I got into Alex Jones, same time I got into Bill Cooper. Yes. It follows a similar premise that the ancient secret societies believe humanity is like that. I don't know. I don't think the bulk of humanity really is like that, though. We just kind of get pushed into a corner, like in the show, where there's manipulation taking place and people are pushed into a situation they don't want to be in, which results in choices that have to be made that they don't want to make, but they have no choice. It's sad. I mean, it's really sad, honestly. I think generally speaking, I think people are generally good. I do, for the most part. Mystery, yeah, it is. I got to look into that again. It's been so many years, but I'm gonna go in a minute. Any final thoughts, anyone? Therefore, the push of AI these days and the brain chips. Yeah, that's to create more hive mind type stuff too. It's gonna create its own cult, its own mega religion, the brain chips and all that. That's its own cult, you know. All right, any final thoughts? Thanks for coming on, everyone, and I hope I at least gave a rudimentary description of a topic that was kind of confusing. So again, I apologize. Yeah, we are being pushed, Mackenzie. We are. It's true, no doubt. Good night, everyone. We're not following the fools, Nigel. No doubt. Thank you, Jordan. Thank you.